Hi, welcome to my podcast where I talk to strong, successful women about their stories. We talk about things that matter. We get real, we get authentic, and we get raw. We talk about leadership, self-doubt, motherhood, the journey from going from an employee to a founder or a business owner, and everything else in between. So tune in, subscribe, and if you want to work with me as your business mentor or career coach, all the details are below. Hi, everyone. Today I'm talking to Suzie Whitfield, who is a global executive coach for over 10 years. She has limitless passion for human potential and has trained everyone from Olympic athletes to Netflix actors. She's also been a mathematics teacher, an Army Reserve tennis coach, and a global events manager. Welcome, Suzie.
Thanks for having me.
So excited to have you here because I want to share the story of how we met because I think it's really funny. I love telling people that I met Suzie through my parents because back in the day when Suzie was living in Darwin, Australia, we used to live across the road from my parents.
Yeah.
And when I went to visit my parents, I found a wonderful friend who actually wanted to spend more time with than maybe my own parents. Bless them. Anyway, it's so wonderful to be here having this chat with you. Let's kick things off. Tell me the story of you going from working for someone else to starting your own business.
Oh, that's a great question. Working for somebody else. I've had so many opportunities to work for myself. So I guess my first job was probably based in London in recruitment, and even during the days of recruitment, and because I loved people and I thought, I could give off my services and help place people in beautiful jobs and get excited for them. I actually realized that in recruitment, it's people are your product, right? So it was a challenge. So what's interesting is working for other people, I so often always had a side hustle. So I think my stories are always around working for other people and then finding the fulfillment so often in my side hustle. So back then, my first kind of side hustle was creating a little organization called Matchmaking Mates, because this was before the day of the swipe left and swipe right. We didn't really have the phones in those days. So created this kind of organization where only women were invited, but for whatever reason, they had a guy who they didn't fancy, but they felt confident somebody else could fancy. So they would always buy 2 tickets, one for them, one for the man. And then through that, we created some fun parties. And so when we talk about the transition between working for other people and working for myself, I think it's quite interesting because actually I have, for so much of my life, done both simultaneously, and then kind of subsequently moved away from working for others and just worked for myself. I'd always tapping back in. I guess that's the story of working for others.
So you've always been entrepreneurial and in all the ventures that you've been doing is what I'm hearing.
And that's really interesting you say that, because I've never really considered myself entrepreneurial. I've always considered myself to be somebody that doesn't settle for not feeling wholly fulfilled. And therefore, I was always happy to take risk in doing something to make myself feel fulfilled. And I guess that might then come back to my past. I always tell people that I'm brilliantly dyslexic, and as a brilliant dyslexic, you have to fight and fail all the way through the system, the schooling system that we have, because it's kind of so boxy and you really need to be the certain type of person. And with my kind of dyslexic, potentially undiagnosed ADHD brain, I definitely didn't fit into the mold. So I had to shift and change and try and, be like everyone else, but I kept falling on my face. And therefore I learned how to fail brilliantly and to learn. And so because of that, I think that probably gave me the strength to go, this isn't quite working for me, or this part of my life is fine. This is generating good income. but I've got more time in my day, so I can do other stuff as well. So
I like that. I like that angle of coming from a place of not feeling fulfilled. Like you have more energy and more that you want to do and give the world. What is something that you can add? Whereas a lot of people think about it as, how can I make more money? Which is also perfectly fine. But I feel like your way of approaching it is more sustainable.
well, and I guess for me, I'm a bit of a fun seeker.
Huh? I love
I've
that.
always kind of, yeah. I've always kind of gone like, I just want to be in a space where I'm laughing, where I'm having fun, where life feels light and energetic. And I have never been scared to jump out of an opportunity and go, nah, this culture is not right in the organization. Don't really understand why, but it feels off. And so uh, I, w- I want to jump into the thing that feels fun. And I think as I've got older, I've realized that what feels fun is the stuff that we're good at, because what we're good at actually comes easily.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we don't credit ourselves enough for these amazing strengths that we have that will naturally spill out and you'll enjoy. I feel like society says we need to work hard, therefore it must feel.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and yet I think being a fun seeker, I'm like, yes, what is the stuff I'm good at? What's the stuff that I enjoy doing? And let's do more of that. So yeah, that's I guess where my drive comes from.
Fantastic. And I think again, I talk to my kids about this all the time. Please don't focus on your weaknesses. I feel like a lot of my career, I'm sure it's the same with you, people pull you up and they say, here's what you need to improve on. And then you can be the best analyst ever. And I think, do I want to be the best analyst ever if 90% of my work is spreadsheets? Because I'm never going to be good at spreadsheets. It's not something I enjoy doing. I don't want to be good at it. But I think so many of our children are told this at school. If you're not good at speaking up, just focus on speaking up, even though perhaps they're really good at listening. And they're not encouraged to perhaps go further into the things that they're really good at instead of making them do things they don't want to. So I think what you said is very wise for anyone listening.
There's quite a lot of there's quite a lot of research backing all of this as well. I guess now as an adult, I've really understood strengths in a whole different way, because actually concentrating on strengths elevates. I think it's something like 28% elevates your performance by 28%. Whereas if you actually work and concentrating on your weaknesses, then your performance is even destined to go down, because focusing on your weaknesses takes so much energy from you. Whereas focusing on strength gives you energy. And I feel like I'm kind of a life example of this, because I'm dyslexic. So reading and writing, spelling comes really difficult to me. And it doesn't change. It doesn't just vanish when you get older. I've got this forever. And yet I have never concentrated on those weaknesses. I've only ever really, because of the fun seeker, concentrated on my strengths. And I just remember when we were doing some work together, one of the things you said is, we were writing a proposal together, right? And I did the first draft. And I think because of my dyslexia, you're probably expecting, and you kind of called me back and went, this is really good. And I wet myself, because that was kind of the moment where you go, yeah, I have never really worked. I have incidentally got better at it because I'm working on my strengths, and it pulls up your weaknesses because of that. And that's, that's what the stats and the research shows, that when you work on your strengths, well, weaknesses will come up anyway. It's
Love
interesting.
that. Love that. And so, probably a segue, how did you move into executive coaching as your life passion and purpose?
God, you're asking me these amazing questions that just light my heart up. So I think, again, I've always been quite attuned to what I love. And even when I was at school, I remember doing, so Duke of Edinburgh, I did at school. I loved the outdoors. And we did in the Gold Award, they ask you to do a project on whatever you want. Something. So I did the project on our team dynamics of our walking group. while we were away for the 4 days, right? Here I am at, I don't know, 15, 16, analyzing the team dynamics and how we all got on and what made everybody tick. And I think, I guess the other thing during school is because I was this dyslexic, I was always gifted a room to myself. And I think that room became kind of like the agony aunt. I was the one that everybody, because I had a room to myself, everyone's kind of coming in and Suze, I've got these issues. So I was like that listening ear. So I think all my life, I've probably been slightly in that space of supporting and helping people. And I remember looking for where I was going to go next through London. I was kind of investigating and looking at the opportunities to go into coaching, but it was so early. This is I'm talking 30 years ago now. I know I don't look so old. No,
Yeah,
you don't really. So this is kind of 30 years ago where coaching was really so in its infancy and I felt young and inexperienced. So I therefore followed other passions and actually, Isis, it really was by meeting you again and having these really amazing conversations, having an 8-month-old kid, little boy, and a 2-year-old, and knowing that I really wanted to go back to work, but wanted to go back to work doing something that was incredibly meaningful. That if I was going to work and leave these humans behind to be cared about through someone else, I wanted to be doing this passion piece. And we had this amazing conversation where we were basically talking about, so what is it that we want to do? And one of the suggestions you came up with was we'll go away and have a look at companies and see if there's anybody else in a company that might be doing the job. And oh yeah, I've got this company that might be good. I'll send it to you. So you sent me this link and I remember looking at all the people who work for the company. And I remember going, wow, they're doing neuro-linguistic programming. That sounds so interesting. They're calling themselves as executive coach, whatever that is. And they're doing all this stuff about people and development and brain. And whoa, I want to be them. So at that point, it was like, I've always done this stuff, but I forgot that's what I wanted to do. So I just got my Cert 4 and I've literally been on this epic learning journey. And I remember because when I did my training as a maths teacher, I told my mum, please never, ever let me do another course again because it's so hard and it's just not my strength. So I said, if I ever do that, because I'm a bit over enthusiastic and want to jump in, just tell me to step back. So when I told my mum I was going to do a coaching course, she's like, you told me to tell you not to do it. And I'm like, but this time it's different. And she's like, yes, you told me that's what you'd say.
Yeah. But it did turn out to be different.
It was different. It absolutely was different this time. And I can absolutely, from the bottom of my heart, tell you that I was put on the planet to do this. And it's just, it's such a gift to be able to give back some of the learnings that I've taken away in life and to help watch people grow just by asking them questions and challenging their thought process. So yeah, this is my play space now, and I love it.
It's so inspiring. It's actually so inspiring to hear someone who is genuinely doing something that they love. And I know the impact that you have on people personally, but also I've watched the way you coach and speak to other people, and your light and enthusiasm creates so much joy and growth. And you're not shy about pushing people into uncomfortable spaces, which I think is so important in coaching and any sort of personal development work that you do. So yay. I want to switch gears a little bit to power because, as you know, my mission is to help elevate women into power, help them feel strong and able to do anything. So I want to understand, what makes you feel powerful in life and work?
I love that. I think for me, the power comes right from within. There's definitely moments in my days when I'm going, nothing's going to stop me. And those very moments where I have utter self-trust, and I think that's where the power comes. I have utter self-trust that whatever people think about me doesn't matter. In fact, doesn't even cross my mind, because what does cross my mind is, why wouldn't they like me? And if they don't, then it's none of my business. Like, we can't be liked by everybody, or they can't be accepted by anybody. And quite frankly, if there is a situation that is tricky, let's get curious and learn from it. So to me, the inner power comes from this absolute self-belief that I can navigate through whatever comes my way. And I have had real challenging situations, and life goes up and down and up and down. And so far, I have navigated them, and I have taken myself into the risk positions. Like, even now, we just recently left Darwin, where I had this amazing business that was going really well. And we took our kids traveling for 12 months. And now we've ended up in a totally different part of Australia where I don't know anybody. No one knows who I am. And I've got to hold this power and believe that, you know what, I'm going to make a go of this area. And I don't know what the impact is yet. And I need to be okay with that uncertainty, which is it all the time, but giving myself permission to play, get to know people, really getting curious, seeing where my position is, seeing what I can offer the community. That's where I get the power, because I believe from the bottom of my heart that what I do could possibly impact somebody's life in a positive way. There is nobody that, if they didn't come on a course or didn't do something, if they were prepared to put the effort in, and that's the kick. If they were prepared to put the effort in, then together we could make a difference. And I believe that wholeheartedly. And I think that comes by also, I think, the self-belief. Where does that come from? Like, where does the self-belief, because that's a challenge. This actual steadfast self-belief, I think, comes from the battles that I've had to go through in my life. Like, I was told that I needed to go to a school for the disabled, right? I was told that I would never get past year, just trying to convert it, because obviously I was from England, year 6. I think, no, year 11. I'd never get through year 11. There's no way I'd get to uni. There's no, I can't. I've been told that all my life. And having 2 people behind me, my mum and dad, who believed in me 100% no matter what, that made me go, if they've got my back, and I'm going to give it my damn best. And by doing, I worked really hard for it, but what a difference it made 2 degrees later, still studying, just been on a neuroscience course. Like, if we are prepared to put the effort in, then stuff can happen, and learning, but we need to be honest with ourselves, and knowing ourselves. And I see the self-belief grow when I work with clients, and then I can see the power grow with it. So I'm a massive believer that the more we can invest in getting to know who we are, the greater our inner power can be.
I love that. So much good stuff. I don't know where to pick, but it's, for me, what I'm really hearing is your self-belief. Your belief in yourself actually drives and powers your belief to do what you want to do and you're passionate about, and you actually know with conviction that you do make an impact on other people in what you do. And I think that's the difference. And to me, that's the kind of formula for your power and what motivates you to act and do things that are difficult and challenging and scary, because you've got a strong sense of belief, which leads me to think about self-doubt. Because I hear from a lot of clients, I hear from a lot of women, and I'm sure you do too, this paralyzing fear of self-doubt. So how do you coach or provide advice to someone who is feeling that the most, and it stops them from doing things that is going to have an amazing impact?
I love that question. And I pondered it and created courses around it, because it is such it is the number one crippler, I think, to this inner belief and inner trust that creates this power that I think we're talking about. And what is really interesting is when you kind of break down this inner critic or this self-doubt, it's within our heads. We have ultimately created that story, and they are our thoughts. I think that's fair to say. I mean, it could sound quite challenging for somebody that's never really thought about it like that, but it's in our heads. It's created by us, and we then define ourselves by that. So really understanding that the thoughts are not who you are is a really important thing, and that we can create different thoughts. And I think the number one thing I absolutely love is knowing that we can only have one thought at a time. We can't take away thoughts, but we can add. There's my maths teachers coming out, they're additive. Thoughts, additives, not subtractors, right?
True.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and we can only think about one thing at a time. So if we are in a moment thinking, what if that, if we're going to go into a presentation, or we're doubt, I don't know if I'm going to be good enough for this. So that thought, that story that we've created in our mind, by noticing it, the first thing we have to do is notice that thought, and knowing that we have control of that and we can only have one thought at a time. I would dare you then to just decide to have a different thought. It may feel ridiculous. It may feel completely fake, but just trying. I mean, there's many strategies, but because we only have a very short amount of time, I'm not going to go into the depth of them. But this is just one tool to try, is challenge yourself to go, what if everything I've got is enough?
Mm. What if
Like,
I do that?
shift it round, and what you'll notice is your brain will start going around that and processing that, and then you're suddenly looking for the what if I am good, rather than what if I'm not good enough. Like, the brain's looking for the negative, whereas if you flip it round, so we have, like, it's so empowering to understand that we have control of our thoughts. I think that is really, and I assume everybody realizes we can control our thoughts, but I think recently I'm beginning to realize that is an assumption.
I love the technique that DBT, dialectical behavioral therapy, teaches you, which is stop and check the facts. And so if you're going into a presentation and you think you're going to bomb it, you're going to fail, you're going to check the facts. Are you prepared? Most of the time, the biggest self-doubters are also very prepared. As you know, the people that wing it are probably not the ones that are worried about failing. So,
Yeah,
are you prepared? Have you done this before? How many times have you failed? And usually the answers to these fact-checking questions are probably never. And what's the likelihood that you're going to bomb this? In what way? So I just love that technique of checking the facts. And essentially, it's exactly the same as you say. It's a way to change your thoughts. You think, actually, no, what is the worst thing that can happen? I could stop and freeze. Will you recover? Most likely. Is anyone going to worry about it? Probably not, because everyone empathizes. We've all been there. There's not a single person that loves public speaking. Yeah, well, I should say they can do public speaking without a slight bit of fear or nervousness, even if you enjoy it. So, yeah, I love this idea that you speak of. Change your thoughts, actually figure out whether you can go into it some excitement instead of fear, and play with it. Think of it as a bit of a game.
Yeah, and then it's adding, I feel like there's the adding to what you've said around mental preparation, because I think that's the piece that we often meet. And if you do have self-doubt, mentally preparing can be really useful. For instance, like, I'm hearing about, fact checking for all the facts. It's then going, so how actually do I want to show? Like, because so often we don't, what are the words that I would use to describe myself when I walk in?
Yeah.
So there is that extra layer of preparation that you can do, which is more about the mental presence that we forget that we can prepare, which again eradicates the self-doubt. So I have a whole bag of tricks in that state. So if anybody wants to hear any more, give me a shout. But that I think that's a great start. Hey,
yeah. So another area of self-doubt for a lot of women is leadership. Moving into leadership, do I have what it takes to get there? I'm curious, what was your journey into leadership, and what advice would you have for women who are looking into getting into leadership, or at least feeling like they belong?
So I laugh because I kind of like bulldoze my way in, having been in. So the interesting thing is I kind of grew up in a little bit of a man's world, being in the maths department at school, mostly male. Being in the military for the 4 years, it was reserves, but I was one of the few girls. And so I kind of bulldozed, like, you guys, I'm just as good as you all. Like, maybe I haven't got as many muscles as you, but I've got quite as many brain cells.
Yep.
And actually, some of my brain cells work a bit better than yours.
Yep.
So, or like differently, like I'm not big. But I had that kind of beautiful belief that we're the same, like, so self-belief, backing yourself. So I think my biggest piece was I didn't think I couldn't. I just thought, why couldn't I?
Oh,
Was
love
it,
that.
yeah, and just a little change. Yeah, like why couldn't I? Why can't I be as good as these guys? So the guys are giving it a go, so I'm going to too. And maybe there's a little bit of me being a competition, and I don't like people. I want to be as good as everyone else.
Hmm.
So
Fair
I
enough.
feel like for us, for those people moving into leadership, the women in leadership, I'd ask why can't it be you?
Mm.
Because you are likely to have the skills, you are likely to have the possibility to grow into it the way anybody else could, male
Yeah.
or female. And if you don't give it a go, you're not going to learn what you need to do next time. Because I didn't get all my leadership opportunities, but what I did get is every time I didn't get it, boy, am I on that phone to go, right, okay. So thanks so much for, giving me the opportunity to give me I'll go at this. Tell me what I need to work on so that next time you are really going to take me seriously. And so each knockback is an amazing learning opportunity. And if you don't take that, then you miss out on the learning opportunity. So I
That is
think yeah.
I think that is a really important point because I know for me personally, but for a lot of women out there, we just won't do it because we're worried about failing. We're worried about failing, but then never recovering. I think there's the misnomer that once I take on a leadership position, I do a bad job, I can never be a leader again. It happened to me. I crashed and burned in my first senior leadership position where I had a massive team of 20, 25 people. And they basically got rid of me. That's how bad it was. And
Yeah.
it's not all to do with me, but there was a lot of other things at play, and I learned so much. And the next leadership opportunity, I absolutely bloomed, and the people gave me a lot of positive feedback. Whilst it was a very tough way to learn, I don't think I could ever have done as good as I did if I hadn't fallen that way. But I couldn't have told myself at that time that I'll ever do it again, you know?
Well,
So I think that's something that I take away from what you're saying there is that if you don't give yourself that opportunity, you're never going to learn.
and I love what you said because growth is mucky. Growth is
Yeah.
hard. Growth is and yeah, painful. And I think there is we need to separate the difference between failing and growth,
Hmm.
or even just again reframe it. Because if you don't ever get back up after you've fallen or failed, then that is a true failure. The number of people that stay down when they've got is so few, really. And you will get up, but it will be painful. But you will have learned, just as you said, so much. I love the quote from Roosevelt, and I'm not going to do it all because it's really long. But he talks about getting into the arena, being that person that gets into the arena, right? Who measures himself with dirt, that gets knocked down, that there is time and time again, but then they will get up. And wouldn't it be better to be that person in the arena giving it a red hot go than the person on the outside that is just watching and isn't even ever gonna fail? Like,
Mhm.
I don't know, that kind of feels like I love, made famous by Brené Brown, of course. So but it's such a beautiful quote that I often kind of go back to and go, it's that. I want to be that person in the arena. What will it take us? What will it take those leaders out there, those female leaders that want to go to take that step into the arena?
Yeah. Yeah. And I always tell people,
Everyone's got enough. Everyone's got enough in their being to get in the arena. It's just maybe you need to work out what those skills are. Maybe you need to get confident enough.
Enough. Yeah. And I think one of the ways I've started noticing when to do that is I'll find myself sitting outside the arena and watching, and then my heart just starts beating louder and louder. And I did a brave LinkedIn post yesterday. Before I did it right before I went to bed, actually. And it's because I was sitting in bed preparing to go to sleep, and I could just feel my heart just beating louder and louder as I thought about, actually, I need to do this. And as soon as I started walking towards my laptop, opening it up, typing the word, it just eased. I could see that my body was saying, you need to step into this arena. It is time. You've been thinking about this for a long time. It is time to do it. So I always say to people, like, do you feel that? Do you feel your body saying it's time to do it? Don't talk yourself out of it. That's the time. That's the time to walk.
Well done. So brave. And I think this is kind of this theme I feel in our conversation keeps coming up. It's the noticing, right? Notice your thoughts. Notice what's going on in your body. Listen to the stuff that is telling us something that we then need to pause so we can actually cognitively process it. Like there's a lot of stuff that is around us that if we don't pause, because in my experience, so often these leaders that I'm meeting, they're so crazy busy. They're juggling so many balls that the pause is really hard to find. And sometimes the pause is actually having a coach because you're still in a meeting, right? So you're moving, but that pause, and sometimes we need somebody else to help us pause. And that's okay. That's totally fine. Finding those pause moments, that's what helps us notice. And then noticing them can help us grow and become stronger and find the power thing that you're talking about.
Yes.
What do you think?
Yes, absolutely. And I want to talk about another really important topic before we wrap up, and it's motherhood. So again, this is an area I get a lot of questions from young women, especially. It's a scary, scary change in your life, and especially how it affects and impacts your work, your business. So I'm curious, what changed for you when you became a mother?
Well, I think probably there was an allusion to this in a previous comment around. I think becoming a mother made me really determined to only be working in a space where I was feeling like I was making a difference and I was where I should be. So it really made me go, if I'm going to leave you beautiful humans that I've made and put on the planet, I need to be doing what I'm meant to be doing on this planet. So it really made me kind of search at an even deeper level to ensure that I was in the place I was meant to be.
Wow, that is
I think that
that is
probably
amazing.
young babies, that was what the impact that they had on me.
Yeah, so it sounds like it helped you actually attune to your purpose and what you. So what happened then? I mean, if you felt like you were going to go to work and do something that weren't in line, what changed for you after having children?
I think I was okay to accept a little less clarity.
Mhm.
Whereas but when I had kids, I'm like, these are my number one priority. So if I'm going to leave my number one priority to do something else, that needs to be flipping important.
Mm.
That's what I felt. And if my work is not important and is not impacting people positively, for me, and everybody has different purposes, right? So this is just a very personal journey for me. But for me, it was if that work is not having an impact and I'm not using all the gifts that I've been given, because I have plenty of non-gifts, but those gifts, those are the gifts that I was given, then am I leaving my number one priority? So I think it really helped me. It made me really firm on going towards where I'm going. And I think it changes as the kids need change too. You kind of like having just kind of I said to the kids I would give them more of my time. They need me. I'm now teenagers. So they mentally and cognitively need me to be there in a way that they didn't when they were babies. So I've had to back off to give them that space. And I've wanted to, like I say, have to. I have chosen to back off which in some aspects is challenging because I love what I do. But these humans are, again, my number one priority. These are these are the people that I want to be giving as much time to. And it is challenging because the honest truth is bringing up kids it doesn't fulfill you necessarily the way as a job gives you that instant hit of, oh, that was amazing. Because you're constantly nagging. You're constantly doing the cooking, the lunch boxes, the taxi driving. So it is a tussle. And I'm sure those of you women listening will totally get it. So it's then just, I think there's a constant reevaluation of what is the right thing that's going to be right for the family and right for me. Constantly going and evaluating that.
I love that perspective. It is a very, very different perspective to one that I've heard before. And I think it's actually really critical because you go through your life before having children thinking usually most people work as the primary reason for existence, right? To make money, to progress. And when you have children, you redefined. Your entire time and context changes. When you say priority, you're now responsible for keeping one or two or more little beings alive. So any time that you spend outside of ensuring that purpose is met has to compete with that. Before, it only competes with your social life, your partner, your hobbies, It doesn't seem as important. Most people will stay at work for 12 hours and not go to the gym. But after you become a mother, you can't stay at work for 12 hours and not pick them up from daycare and leave them there for 2 hours.
Oh,
Apart from the fact that it costs a lot,
let's just be honest.
So I think that's actually a really good point. It doesn't have to be a scary thing because a lot of people I've spoken to, it's scary to become a mother because they feel like they'll lose themselves and they'll lose their work status. But from what I'm hearing from you, it can actually be a redefining moment where you suddenly think, is this job where I actually want to be? Because now I have a competing purpose. And not that I'm saying you need to be at home looking after them full time, but at least it puts things in perspective. You can make a decision from a different point of view, I guess.
Yeah, totally.
So to finish up, let's end on this theme of mothers, women in general. What advice do you have for maybe women who are looking to become mothers and enter the workforce, or women are generally looking in the precipice of doing something really scary and they need the bravery, they need, what would you say to them?
If somebody's on the precipice of doing something, I get so excited. And I suppose in that moment, I would be asking somebody what it will take, find the excitement that will help you take that next step to be braver. I don't know what that is, but find the excitement, find the thing that will help you take that next step. Because even if you do fall on your face, you are going to grow. And it may be uncomfortable and it may be yucky. You will grow from that. So it may be that you need to go and do the what ifs. What if I didn't jump? Then what? You go, look back. Are you okay with just staying here?
I love
So
that.
often they're like, no, and that's enough to make you jump. The other question you had was, what advice would you give people about to enter motherhood and also want a job? What's that question?
And want to balance both.
Want to balance both. Wow, how long have we got? 2 minutes. Yeah, I know that's a huge question. I think acknowledging that the balance is a bit like a handstand. The balance, when you do a handstand, and I don't know how you guys are at handstands, but they last for a moment in time. So the balance lasts a moment in time and then it's gone. So know that I think that knowing that if you're going to go into a job and you are going to try and find balance as a mother in motherhood, no, it's just that handstand. It will be there. And then you need to do another one to reevaluate what it is. And then another one, because it is constantly changing. And give yourself permission that that's okay. And sometimes the balance right, and other times you will not. But that's okay. You're human.
I love that visual of handstand because it captures balance really well. I know we should be wrapping up, but it's that people think that balance is somehow something that just stays like that forever. But the entire point of being balanced is sometimes you tip over one side, and other times sometimes you don't spend enough time with your children. Other times you spend not enough time on your work. So it's constantly keeping that in check and being okay if you fail in one of those and you do fall off balance, you just get up and do the handstand again. I love that because I do think sometimes people think that balance can be a stationary thing. It's just something that you have all the time.
Yeah. Nah. Then it wouldn't be called balance, I don't think.
This is true. Well,
Standing.
exactly. It's just standing still, isn't it? Which also says a lot about what we've been talking about. It's been such a pleasure talking to you. And of course, we can talk for another 4 hours on all things. So thank you again for being part of this.
Absolute pleasure. So great to chat.
Okay, see ya.
See ya.
I hope you enjoyed that episode. All the details from the show are in the show notes below. If you want help with any of those topics, feel free to contact me. I am your career coach and business mentor. I can help you grow your business or help you with those really difficult decisions that you might be struggling with, like, should I quit my job? Or how do I ask for a pay rise? Or should I change careers? If you're struggling with any of these things, contact me.